to Skyline High School's Digital Photography 1. My name is Meredith Giltner, and I'll be your teacher, and this is an introduction to digital photographers. I'm going to take some time and go through the different types of photographers. It's not as limited as this, but I would like to give you an idea of what you could be doing or looking forward to doing in this class for this trimester. The invention of photography came out of the need for science to expand the way it saw the human body. For instance, before photography was explored, there weren't X-ray machines, nor were there a real way to document what was seen. So it seems like a perfect combination of science and art. Photography was first explored through the daguerreotype, which was created by Mr. Daguerre. This happened in the 1850s. He was able to create a surface of metallic silver in which it responded to light, both negative and positive light. After he invented that, there was a second person who explored it even further, Mr. Talbot, and he actually came up with a calotype, which was using silver-sensitive paper to, again, expose the paper to light. The third person is actually George Eastman of the Kodak Company. Again, he further refined and made it more economical to use photo paper. He also was the first person to manufacture cameras in a way that the everyday person could use them. The first type of photographer I would like to explore with you are landscape photographers. Landscape photographers have a unique way of documenting how the environment looks and how it changes over time. Ansel Adams was a great photographer, preferred to work with the black and white photography, and he liked to document the United States. You will see the Titan and Snake River photograph that he did. He has amazing contrast with the black and white, and we will be able to shoot both black and white and color. So he's a great asset to have as far as looking at to determine whether or not your images are successful as black and white. Lars van de Goor also is a great photographer, landscape photographer, and he decided that he liked to play with color a lot more. His images are very vibrant. He travels around Europe looking for great landscapes, and if you look more into his work, you will see it. Philip Hyde, again, is a great photographer of the United States. He actually works for National Geographic, and he is doing a reflective pool in Utah. Amazing. Love the reflection. That's one great thing about landscape. Landscapes traditionally do not have people in them, and that's something to keep in mind. I recently realized that I am very much into architectural photographers. I love the way they use their space and the lines and shapes to emphasize what they do and to highlight different parts of buildings, and I'm very fascinated by their work. On the left, you'll see the Empire State by Randy Scott Slavin. His work is amazing if you have time to check out more. Colorful. I love that he's using the circular motion there to bring your eye in. Chicago by Moby, the actual techno singer. He does a great job of, again, showing you how to use lines in your work to bring a viewer's eyes in. Crowds Are Gone by Jamie Airy was done at the Olympics. This is what it looked like after the Olympics was over. She said it was very powerful to see how a place that had been so crowded was actually emptied. When you take your architectural photographs, I want you to think about that space, how it feels empty, how you're going to make it feel happy or sad, or feel like you can hear the crowd but know that they're not there. So I really want you to think about the way you present your work. The next type of photographer I want to discuss is the documentary photographer. These are the photographers who go out in the field and they look for human stories, human interest stories. What do people need to know about? What are people concerned about? I think Dorothea Lange is very famous for her migrant mother image. I think it is very powerful. She was asked by the United States to document what was going on during the Depression, and she initially went out in the field thinking that she was just going to take pictures of empty farms and empty cars, and what she found is that those abandoned spaces actually had people living in them who were very poor and who had no way to make money. So she found that more interesting. The human story was more interesting to her. I think she's very successful. Sharon Mashat is another artist who currently works in the United States. She just had an exhibit at the Detroit Institute of Arts last summer. Very powerful. She is very concerned about her culture. She has left Iran and she now lives in the United States. The image of the man has text projected onto him, and that text is by the poet Ferdowsi, and it tells of Iran's mythical and historical past. Now, Steve McCurry took images of the Afghan girl, and again, another very famous image, another human story image. I know that they have actually found the woman who this picture was taken of, and it's amazing to see what happens over time. So be aware of how powerful an image can be and how lasting it can have an impression on those who view it. Still life and object photographers are very interesting to me. It's interesting how you can take a single object, or you can create an environment for objects in which you are telling a story. I think that the projects that you do with your still life and the projects you do with your objects can be amazing. You can tell me a story, you can express how you feel about that object. There are many different ways to be creative with this project. Edward Weston was very famous for taking just a simple object, even like a pepper. In this case, he took a shell and made it quite interesting. The detail in it is not like what you would really think you'd see in a shell. It has some kind of spiral to it that just kind of pops out when you see it. So when you look at your object, try to look at it a different way. Strawberries by Holly Lackner. You just really want to pick up those strawberries, don't you? And there's something about it. It feels like you can touch the image, that the photo is inviting you to take part of it. Shelley Corbet is a great artist. She used to do images of fairy tales underwater, and now she switched to this Lego type of photography, which it tells a story. She does a great job. I want you to think about your objects in a new way. I want you to think about making a still life. There are great artists out there. These are just a few. If you're interested in more, check out the blog post on the still photographers and object photographers. The next is the portrait photographer. I've chosen several that I felt were very powerful. I think that when you do your portrait photography, you should have a lot of fun, and you should really get to know that person. It really changes the way you take a photograph of someone. If you know them versus if you're just taking a quick snapshot. So keep that in mind. Carrie Mae Weems is a great photographer. She explores the family life. She documented her family sitting to the kitchen table and what happens over time at the kitchen table, whether it be homework, eating, discussing, paying bills, relaxing, having a party. It's a great storyline. Gordon Parks was a great photographer who was a fashion photographer initially, doing pictures for Vogue, and then for some odd reason he changed. He really felt like he needed to document what he saw, because there was always an upside to going to Paris to photograph famous and beautiful people when there are homeless people on the street. And he really took that to heart. So his photographs are quite intense. Christina Huck is young. She's 19 years old. She is very expressive in her photographs too.
No.
She really wants people to see what she sees. And that's one thing to keep in mind when you take photographs. Be honest in what you see. It's okay. I think that there are no flaws in the way anyone looks. I think that just makes them who they are. So keep that in mind. I would have to say that I'm ending with contemporary and surreal photographers because there are so many of them that I'm just amazed by, that I really didn't want to leave out anyone, but I couldn't include everyone. So here are a few that I find to be very intriguing. So the first is Gregory Crutzen. He actually has a movie out as well, and it discusses his technique and how he takes a photograph. It's called Brief Encounters. The movie itself shows you how it is a production for him to come up with one image. This image of the woman sitting in a home that has been turned into a flower bed is part of his Twilight series. And as you can see, it ran from 1998 to 2002. That's a 2-year span. Some of his images take days for him to get the one image. And he has a whole crew that helps him. Everything is perfect. I've actually seen the movie at the DIA, and it was quite intense. He is very, very much a perfectionist. The next artist is Jerry Ulson, and his work is done primarily with just overlaying images in the black and white enlarger. He does not use Photoshop. And that's not to say that all contemporary and surreal photographers do use Photoshop. Some of them do just use their camera to use for reflections and other tricks of the trade. His work is kind of interesting, and the fact that the tree house kind of reminds you that a house is made from trees. I think it's a simple thing. Some of his other work is more intense, but I think sometimes just that wordplay can be really fun in photography. Another amazing artist is Brooke Shaden. She has so much work. She's very young. She's in her 20s. She does use Photoshop. She overlays images. She has a lot of fun. Then we have Logan Zilmer. He is actually from Michigan. He went on a quest to do an image a day. He does use Photoshop. He, again, is very into play on words, tricking the eye. He has a lot of fun with what he does. All these are linked on our blog, so if you're interested in finding out more about them, please do. A lot of times you'll find that there's a crossover between portraits, contemporary, surreal artists, so enjoy.